We also organised for a major article in The Guardian, which is a national newspaper here. Now that's no small thing either. Robert Bryan, his lawyer, said of this piece that it was the best piece of journalism on Mumia's case that there has been. Much of the press coverage at the time and since had been very racist and detrimental, really putting the other side rather than dealing with the injustices of the case. And that article not only does that, but really presents Mumia as the person that he is. Now, we have obviously faced terrible defeats. I mean, the first defeat is that Mumia is not here today. But in March of 2008, last year, Mumia's appeal was turned down by the Third Circuit, which is a court, a federal court. It was a scandal that it was turned down. It was a very strong appeal. The evidence was extremely compelling. But it was turned down because of the entrenched racism and determination to ensure that Mumia's voice is not heard, to keep him quiet. But one judge wrote a very powerful dissenting opinion. And it was on the issue of racism and jury selection. When we got the news that the appeal had been turned down, we met to discuss what to do now, and it was clear that racism in jury selection had to be the focus of our work. We wrote a summary of the ruling, spelling out the implications, dealing with the issue of racism in jury selection, and we called on others within the movement to focus on that issue as well. It's a key issue, because it's not only central to Mumia's case, it's central to the case of thousands of other imprisoned women and men of colour, and we have just found out of white people too in the US. We found out from our last visit that Phoebe made with Mumia that a white man in Texas who's been in prison for 30 years has just won his appeal. I'm right, aren't I? 30 years, has just won his appeal on the grounds that he was denied a fair trial because black people were kept off of his jury. And that's really a moment when anti-racism is seen to benefit white people too. And it shows you how key the issue of racism in jury selection is. It's been one key way that they've managed to get by with the kind of injustice that they have. But it's also a crucial aspect of US racism. You can see that if you're black, you can now be president, but unless you're president, racism can still keep you off a jury. And if you're accused of a crime, racism can impose a jury likely to convict whatever the evidence. So we focused on that, but we soon found that we're increasingly finding really that the work on this issue, that the more we work on this issue, the broader our campaign has become. And we are now really compelled to extend it to racism within the judicial process generally and within prisons in particular. And there's really a great need. We saw in preparing jailhouse lawyers, we saw the figure that 1 in every 9 men, black men, between the ages of 20 and 34 are in prison in the US. Some of the most famous Americans are imprisoned unjustly. I wanted to mention Leonard Peltier in particular. You can find out more information. You can find out more information about him from us. But I could have chosen from hundreds. We focus on Mumia's case in this context, but we focus on his case because we do particularly want him out. I was glad to hear what P said about casework, because we do casework, we do legal work, and we think that the combination of legal work, scrupulous legal work, and campaigning outside of the courts can make and win fantastic victories. But we do it first and foremost because we're not ready to leave people in prison, in detention, without the right to protection and safety. We want Mumia out because he's our brother. We are women defending men like women always have done, extending the caring work we do to campaigns for justice. But we want him out because he speaks for us. He speaks against the death penalty, against racism, against sexism, against exploitation, against the murderers, and for internationalism. He is interested in this gathering that we are involved in today, and will hear what we learn and the experience that we have shared. And he lives off of that kind of news. He's managed to keep in touch with the movement outside and retains an energy for the movement outside that puts many of us to shame, in fact. So finally, Phoebe spoke about the change that has come and we hope will come with Obama being elected as president. But we want to use the power of that movement that forced the closure of the torture chambers of Guantanamo to close the torture chambers of US prisons generally,